your homework was to think about a kid that you already have in care, that you already are interacting with, and maybe try to do some of the drilling down steps with, like use the reflective listening, the reassurance, and just see how it goes. So, and part of discussing that, maybe we can do some review. So, did anybody have a chance? We had an interesting talk after class. Try any of those things, or are you still having to kind of plan C that situation?
What did we talk about?
We talked about the boy in your house who does something.
No. I mean, I did that already.
Yeah.
I talked with him,
Okay.
and he, because
It's
do I
bad
tell
habit.
them what we talked about?
We can. I mean, if you're comfortable with that.
I am. I just
Okay.
don't want to get in
So
trouble.
she discovered that he had been like peeing in his closet and out the window, so it was in the yard, and just it seemed like a habit that he's had his whole life.
I've noticed it's kind of common with children in our care. I mean, I've definitely seen it more than one time where they go either pee in jars or pee in the window, pee in the closet, pee in drawers. It's not.
That was actually my suggestion, is maybe he needs a bucket like in the room that he can pee in and dump it out. Instead of like that would be tailoring the expectation rather than like, nope, I need you to use the toilet. I need you to just stop and do it my way. You know, so we were kind of brainstorming how would you approach that, and actually sounded like you approached it pretty well, because you understand he's got lagging skills and he's got, you know, emotional stuff around that behavior that you can't just automatically say, well, no, you're going to be in trouble if you pee on my window again. It's not enough to just ask him to do it. You know, you have to actually go back and, you know, work on it step by step, and maybe have him pee in the bucket, and then from there, it's real life in Maple Star.
So they're lagging, that they don't understand the concept of why that's not okay, or is it like a thrill for them that they are hiding something that they're able
It
to
could
do?
be either or both.
I mean, it could be even that they don't know that it's okay to use the toilet at night. Like you need to
They're
drill
just
down a
not
little bit
used
more
to
to
it.
figure out why.
Here's what we would do, right? So CPS has these 3 steps. We have assessment, planning, and intervention. So we would assess, why does it seem like he's doing this? Is it only at night? Is he doing it during the day too? Like, what's the pattern? What seems to be going on? It turns out he's mostly doing it at night. Is that right? Okay.
Well,
So
I'm
we're
not
thinking-
really sure. I'm not even sure if we've got a handle on it.
Mhm.
You know, he said, we talked about it, and he said it's because he was lazy.
Right.
Right, but then
So
when
that was your, like, you tried to drill down, and that's as far as you got.
right, exactly. And so what I did,
Clearly, there's more to it than that, but
There
we
is.
go with that for now.
and so what I did, I shampooed his room, cleaned up everything, and then the smell came again, you know, and so we had another discussion, you know, and that's when I you know, told him to stop it. You know, we had, you know, I used plan C, A.
Because, and here's why, let me just jump in for a second, because you had an expectation and he didn't meet it, so you're like, you know what, I've spent a lot of money on getting you, like, I need you to just stop. And then you come around and have the conversation later about why is this hard, what's going on, right? So, in assessing, what she's figuring out is, like, he's saying it's because he's lazy, he's doing it at nighttime, you know, don't have a whole lot of other clues necessarily, except maybe if there's something in his history, like he was sexually abused, or there was some kind of trauma in his family, so you're thinking, okay, there's something going on there. We're also thinking, what skills would he need to have to be able to do this? I don't know. What do you think? What's your hypothesis about what of the lagging skills, like, would we need him to learn to not be able to do this? Like, he would need to be aware of how this was affecting you. He would need to maybe it's around social skills somehow, or about talking about something that's going on with him at nighttime.
How old is he?
He's 13.
It seems kind of impulsive to me, like executive functioning. There might be some lagging skills with executive functioning because it's not, you're not really planning your thoughts out when you know, because you know that you're not supposed to be there.
He's just doing it. So that's as far as Deborah was able to get with the assessment, but just hypothetically, let's say we take that and we go, okay, well, what's the best way to approach this? Well, my concern is that I have spent a bunch of money shampooing his room. The problem isn't solved. He's just going to keep doing it. Now I'm smelling it outside underneath his window. You know, when people come up to the porch and they're smelling it and it's not okay. So how are we going to approach? I think I need to plan A. Like, I need to just come up with something to make him stop. So she tries that, and actually has the intervention where she's like, don't do it anymore. And then he keeps doing it. So then maybe we come in and we go, well, maybe do you want to try having just a bucket in your room? Or, you know, we just, it's a process that you go through where you're trying to rule things out. And then ideally you would have this plan B conversation about it where you would bring up your concern. I've noticed, in a neutral way, I've noticed this thing is happening. I know it's probably kind of embarrassing to talk about, but you know, I'm trying to figure out why you're doing this. You're not in trouble right now. I just want to figure this out. And then he says, oh, I'm lazy. And then you go, well, what do you mean by that? Like you don't want to get out of bed? Like you kind of explore it. Like you're sleeping and you don't want to get out of bed. And you know, then you're taking lazy and you're opening
he's
it up.
getting out of the bed because his bed isn't
He's
flat.
getting out of the bed to
Right,
pee in the room.
exactly.
So like,
exactly.
so you're lazy, so you don't want to come downstairs. So you're trying to narrow it down. Do you see what I mean?
Are you afraid of the dark?
Are you afraid of the dark?
He
Yeah.
said he wasn't.
So what are some other drill down questions that Deborah could ask this kid? Let's pretend that we are
He's not
doing this.
You know, and two, let me just bring this up. Let me kind of back up a little bit, okay? Because now after I told him to stop it, you know, and I shampooed his room, you know, and then I think he started peeing out the window, okay? And then that's when I told him to stop it, okay? And then when he, I re-shampooed his room again to see if he really did stop. And it seemed as if he did,
Or maybe he tried.
but maybe, you know, there's still a scent there, you know, because when I shampooed and I wiped everything down and everything, you know, the smell went away. But the smell is back, and I'm not sure if he's peeing on his clothes or if he's peeing in his clothes, or I'm not sure what's really going on, because I check his room constantly.
He's finding somewhere else to pee now, so he
I
knows
think he
he doesn't
is.
go
I
on.
think he is.
This is a perfect place to come in with Plan B. So how would you bring this up with this child?
I would say, hey, I've noticed a different smell in your room.
It's back. The smell is back.
Yeah, and I don't know if I
Because you've
would-
already had some discussions about
A lot.
it
I
already.
would even be a little more cautious. I mean, I don't know how he's been in the coach, like if he's been willing to talk to you about it. Or if
And
he's
she has a
really
really
embarrassed.
explosive girls, so.
Yeah, so I'm real gentle with my, like, first surprise. Like, you notice there's kind of a different smell. Have you noticed that? No. Well, has there been something going on lately? You know, and just kind of open up discussion. He may not even talk to you about the urine at first.
What's the dynamic
He
between
has,
you and
yeah.
him when you talk about
We
it? Is he
have a
pretty
good-
calm or he's
He's
not?
very calm. We
Okay.
have a good relationship.
So it would be
Right.
safe enough to say, you know, that smells back. What do we
Right.
do? Okay, what's
Right.
happening? What's different?
Right.
What I'm trying to figure out what's going on and I'm coming up empty. Can you help me figure this out?
Right.
Like, what's going on? Right, so that's your opening line and that's your question to get him talking about it.
Does he use the
Well,
bathroom at the day, during the day?
Huh?
Does he use the bathroom during the day? Is it just a night thing?
Well, he's at school. he's at school most of the day. At nighttime, I don't think he does. But see, I've cut his liquids off too. You know, I told him from now on, 7 o'clock, no more liquids.
But he's still doing it.
But you know, it's yeah, I can smell, the smell is back, you know, and I've looked around his room, you know, to see if there was any wet areas, and, you know,
You're
and
doing your
sniffing.
detective work.
Right, but you know, and I think, I'm not sure, but I think it's in his clothes. I think
Okay.
he's doing something, maybe he's, you know, because he doesn't have enough in his system because he doesn't drink after 7.
So you could even bring it up like, I'm thinking maybe something about your clothes. That's where the smell's coming from. I'm not sure why.
Right.
You haven't
What
just
do you
straight up
tell
asked him? Is that how he used to, when he was
I
in
have.
his home? That
I
is that
have,
how
and he said he didn't, but I don't
I don't
believe
believe
that.
that either.
I don't believe
So let's just pretend that I'm this kid.
And
or
that might
Deborah's
be
this
embarrassing
kid.
to admit that that's like the
Yeah.
way that you always have peed when someone's
Right.
like, dude, what's up with that? Like,
Which is why you want to provide reassurance. I'm not mad at you. I'm just really trying to figure this out. This problem affects both of us. you know, and I don't want you to feel like you're gonna be in trouble if you tell me what's going on. You're here so I can help you, yada, yada. So let's come up with some examples of, let's drill down on this.
And
Can
you
we
know
just
what, and
get
I
some
think,
practice?
you know, a little more information about him, he has a cat. And cats that are not fixed, you know, certain cats will mark their spots. You know, and it's a possibility that's what has been happening, and maybe grandma never
The cat is
realized.
doing it?
The
Or
cat
he's
deal with
marking
you?
his territory.
Maybe
No,
the cat
no,
influenced
no,
him.
but grandma.
He was raised by
You know,
cats.
he had a cat at his grandmother's
Okay.
house.
So
You know, and I'm not sure
Smell
if
is
the
so hard to get rid of.
cat smell.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it can
Property
be
manager.
confusing. I think it
Yeah.
can be confusing as to whether it's human or the
It
cat.
can.
Well, and in his
And-
mind, let's just put ourselves in his shoes. He's probably used to that smell.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
And he's used to
Yeah.
this habit of like, well, this is what I do at night. And now she's asking me about it, and I don't know what to say. I don't know why I do it. I just do it.
So let me ask him, how does he feel when he does it? What are his feelings internally
Yeah.
when he does it?
How
Does he
awake
feel
are
happy?
you
Does he
when
feel
this-
released?
That's what I'm wondering as him night.
So is he walking and sleeping? I mean,
Now,
he's
see,
asleep
that's
and
what
peeing?
I thought.
Because my
That's-
son, when he was little, when we moved, he was so confused that he peed at the corner of the thing because he thought he was
So
going to
what
the
you
restroom.
Yeah, I've
guys
seen
are
that
doing right
happen.
now, these questions, these are totally part of the assessment. We're, you know, rather than being part of the drill down, these are part of trying to hypothesize, why is he doing this? Is he on night meds? Is he sleepwalking? Is he like, you know, not really just like, where's the bathroom or
Have
whatever?
you always been doing this, or this one just started coming up?
Well, no, this is since I've had him. Yeah, and I've had him, what, about 2-3 weeks, going on 4 weeks.
Oh,
But I thought maybe he was sleepwalking and that's what was going on. But then,
It's clearly a habit.
Do you
when
have
I
alarms on, Deborah?
found, you know, where he was urinating, he said it was because he was lazy. You know, and.
That's all he's given us to go on, but there's all these other clues.
If he was lazy, he'd pee in bed.
Right, well, he did have, he has peed in the bed before,
Has he
only
gone to the
once.
doctor?
So what we don't
Not
want
yet,
to do.
I'm trying to get him.
Let me just
Okay.
make a distinction here. Okay, so we do want to assess and try to figure out, but we don't want to solve this. I mean, we might come up with, I've heard a bunch of things that could lead to really great ideas. Let's put alarms on the door. Let's take him to the doctor.
No,
to get
are
him
there
assessed.
alarms on the door?
Well, I mean, we
Yeah.
could though, that's what I
Yeah.
mean, like, these are all possible solutions. We could put an alarm on the door so we can figure out, you know, we could get him to a doctor, we could check on him at night to see if he's asleep or look for signs of sleepwalking. Great, but in the Plan B process, we're gonna get him to help figure out these solutions rather than just us coming in. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, imagine a service team meeting where you're talking about all this, and here's the kid waiting outside, you know, while all the adults are talking about him. Our goal is to bring that kid in and have him be part of the conversation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that he can learn what.
Oh, absolutely,
It's
we
only-
want you to.
It's just, we're not, because we want to have like because like that's what we're good at, like those hypotheses, but this is what we're doing
That's
while we're
this.
assessing, and we're like kind of looking at it at all angles. And like, so like, you know, Shannon's saying like, is he on night medication? Maybe when we talk to him, he says he's too tired at night to like get out of the actual room. So that could be one way that it possibly leads. Or like when I ask, like, you know, are there alarms on the door? Like I've known several other kids who refuse to leave their room because there are alarms on the door.
Poop in the vent. That's
Yeah.
happened.
You know, and so that's when you like when you start the conversation with them, you're not gonna like say, I know why you're doing this,
Right.
you know, like, but you can have some
And
ideas of how
also-
the
So we want him to
conversation will
think
flow.
while we're
Yes,
thinking.
and you want to build a relationship about solving that problem. So he's like, this is a person that helps me solve problems. So here we are. Let's pretend we're all a service team and we're all trying to figure out what makes this kid tick. We've all got smart brains about this. We've all got great ideas. We're in assessment here. We're going to make a plan. So now that we've thought of all these ideas and we're going to try to figure out if, you know, what's going on, what's the best way to approach this? Which one of us should talk to him? Probably Deborah. You know, and what should this conversation be? Should she be Plan Bing it? Should she be Plan C, Plan A? What's a good time of day for her to do it? We're going to plan when this approach is going to happen. Maybe in the kitchen instead of in his bedroom, or maybe you go upstairs and you're walking through the room and going, see, I smell it here, but I don't smell it here. Like maybe I don't know, you know, that would be something we would plan together.
And what I
then
did,
go in and
as
actually
far as the
have the
planning,
conversation.
we had the talk coming from the Boys and Girls Club. We were walking, and that's when we do a lot of
You
our
walk
talk.
there, that's
It's
great.
when we're walking.
You're not face to face and it's
Right.
not confrontation.
And I
That's
asked
good.
him, you know, I just brought up, you know, I smell something in your room, you know, I'm not sure what it is, but, you know, it's a very unpleasant, very strong smell. Yeah,
Very
that's what
neutral.
I
You
did.
see what she's done? That's exactly what we want you to do, rather than being, sounds like you're peeing in your room again.
Yeah.
Right? You're
And
gonna
then
get a
he
better
says,
reaction from
he
that.
says, well, no, I don't smell anything, you know, and I'm like, okay, well, when we get home, let's go up there and see if you smell what I smell.
Mhm.
And so we went upstairs and he said he didn't smell anything, you know, and then later on, you
So
know, I
he's
dropped it.
sort of denying that
Right.
it's a thing.
And then later on, you know, we talked about it again, and I told him, I said, you know, it smells like a urine smell. You know,
You're
is
so
it possible
patient.
that you're urine upstairs? And he says, no. I said, well, maybe you're sleepwalking. It could be you're sleepwalking. And he says, no, I'm not doing that. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do anything like that. Blah, blah, blah.
Maybe he doesn't know
no
he's
problem,
doing it.
no problem.
Well, see, what she's doing, she's drilling down.
Yeah,
He's not coming up with suggestions, so she's like, could it be this? Could it be that? What's going on? And he's just saying, no, it's not that.
And this is a really good time where you can throw in that reassurance,
It's
especially
okay,
when
I'm not mad.
a
If you
kid,
did do that, let's just say you did do that, it'd be
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm here to help you.
like, especially when kids will, like, when you bring something up and they flat out are like, no.
Mhm.
That's when you say, you know what, you really are not in trouble. Like, I you know, when I go in your room, there's a certain smell to it, and I just want to figure out what's going on.
I just want to solve the problem. Like, you're not saying it's okay, pee wherever you
Right.
want. You're saying, I realize you're doing this. I realize, you know, I need to help you figure this out so it doesn't happen anymore.
And also, since he is new, to even say, you know, I know there's things that you still don't trust me with, but I want you to know that you're here because I'm here to help you. And I do have, you know, the ability to help you through this. So once you start building skills, then you'll know that you'll be able to come to me.
And I've had
Yeah, we had that at the very beginning.
boys that pee in my house, and they would deny up the wazoo because they were always either yelled at for peeing or punished for peeing. And I would say, you know what, it's okay, if you peed, we just need to find out what's going on. So, you know, what do you need me to do to help you with that? Do I have to get up in the nighttime to walk you to the restroom if you're not feeling safe? Or do we need to put pull-ups on? Or, you know, and now they don't say, because it would be peed all up to their chest, and be like, I'm not peed. It's
Yeah.
like, it's okay that you peed, we just need to change you. And
So-
then they started getting comfortable, so, but you're still.
What did he
still
say?
doing
Well, I
that.
was telling him it was okay. You know?
Well, but it's okay that if he's peed,
Well,
you
and
need to figure it out.
then, we cleaned it up, and then we dropped. I mean, I
You
told
dropped
him-
it.
Yeah.
You couldn't go any further in that moment. This
Right.
is a long step one.
We
and that's
cleaned it
okay.
up, and he didn't admit it until I found it. You know,
Okay.
because I decided, okay, now there's a strong smell. He says, well, it was already there, and I'm like, no, it wasn't already there.
I'm sorry, but it was.
But anyway, so what I did, we cleaned up his room.
Right.
I told him, I said, we're gonna clean up your room together. And that's when I discovered one of his suitcases in the closet. He had taken the top up and peed in it and closed it back and put his shoes on top. And then the other one up under his nightstand, he did the same thing, you know, because they
Okay.
both had
So you
lids
found
on
some
them.
evidence. So
Right.
meanwhile, he's saying he's lazy, but also he's side by side with you. You're seeing these things, and he
Right.
knows he can't deny it. So
Right.
then the conversation, you can pick up that drill down where you left off, and what would you say at that point? What could you say to him to try to figure out more information about what's going
What the hell are you doing?
What is wrong with
What the
you?
hell?
on? We could do some educated guessing. So is it that you don't want to leave your room at night? Is that what's happening? Or are you aware you're doing this? And try to get a yes or no or a hot or cold from him. And then let's say he's
Well,
like, no.
but let me go back a little
Okay.
bit, because then Melinda came, the FCC, she came, and he, and I brought it up to her, and he says, well, you know, I brought it up to her, and then he said, well, maybe I must have been sleepwalking.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
that's what he said.
That was what he, as much as he gave us.
Right, but
So-
then he turned around and said he was lazy.
Okay. So let's just go with that and say that he said, let's say you're his foster parent and he says to you, I'm lazy. How would you apply those 4 tools? Like, what would you ask him?
Are you
at that
wanting me to model for everyone?
Yeah, can we?
Yeah, we can act this
You're
out.
like, why are you looking at me?
So if I was, so you say, you know, you're lazy, so, you know, I hear what you're saying is that you're lazy. Is that, do I have that right? Like that at
So that's a
night?
clarifying question.
Okay. And I just want you to know that, you know, you're not in trouble. Thank you for telling me that you're lazy, but we want to figure out a little bit more about what's going on about that.
Reassurance.
So can we play a guessing game? Like, I'm gonna put some,
Are you gonna
Take
kick
some-
me out?
I promise you're not kicked out. You're not gonna be kicked out. We just, you know, we wanna figure out what's going on. It's, you know, it's not that you're in trouble, it's not that you're a bad person, it's not that, you know, this is anything like that. We're just trying to figure out what exactly is going on. And
I'm listening, I
little,
swear.
little Johnny's brain, or whatever you're doing. So you said that it has to do with you being lazy. Does that mean like at night it's too hard to like get out of the room? Is it that? Like,
I don't know.
yeah,
I don't really know. I like being in here.
you like
We're making this up
I
now,
know.
obviously, I don't know what happened. I just like being in here.
you just like being in your room.
Yeah. So that was a reflective listening. She repeated back what I just said.
Okay. So you like being in your room, but and the bathroom. Where's the bathroom in your house, Deborah?
Downstairs.
The bathroom's downstairs. So at night, you know, when you're sleeping and you wake up and you have to go to the bathroom, you just don't want to go downstairs.
I don't want to wake Deborah up.
Okay, so you're afraid that
I'm
you're
just
gonna,
making that
yeah,
up.
you're afraid that you're gonna wake Deborah up if you go
Well,
downstairs.
yeah, I mean, because, you know, I'm not going downstairs like barefoot. I'm going to put my slippers on because the floor is freaking freezing. So, and then my slippers have these soles that are like loud on the stairs because there's no carpet.
Okay,
Totally making this.
so what I hear you saying is that you don't wanna go downstairs to go to the bathroom because you're afraid, you know, you put on your slippers and they're really loud and you're gonna wake
It's just
Deborah
a
up.
hassle. Why should I? I'll just go out the window if she doesn't want me to go in my closet. That's my new thing I do because I understand she doesn't want it in the house.
You know what? That may be a solution at some point. We're gonna
He's
put on a
peeing
table right
out.
there.
He's peeing in his room. That's- in case you hadn't figured that out, this is what's happening.
So, okay. I forgot where we were. I'm sorry.
I just would rather pee out the window. I don't want to upset Deborah. I feel bad.
Yeah. You know, you would just rather pee out the window. Okay, so like you.
Does she have a clear perspective of where, enough to go on where we could move on to steps 2 and 3?
Yeah,
You think so?
I think for right now, I mean,
Step-
can't you start step 2 even if you haven't figured it all out? Can you state your opinion or your concerns?
So here's the steps, just to review. Step 1, the only thing we're doing in step 1 is trying to get the kids' perspective and letting them know that we care about it. We're not gonna come up with solutions, we're not gonna bring up our ideas, we're not gonna even say what we're concerned about. I mean, you might when you're first bringing up the issue, so that smells back. I mean, he knows that's a concern for you, but you've stated it, and now you're just gonna figure out, you're gonna drill down like Anna was doing. So then, if you feel like you finally have enough to know maybe what's going on with the kid, you might not have the deep down, dark, secret reason, but you have enough to go, okay, this seems like what the kid's concerned about. Now I'm gonna bring up my concern. I'm gonna sum up both sides. I'm gonna say, so I'm concerned about this, and you're concerned about this.
What do you think?
Invitation to brainstorm. What are we gonna do about this? Can you think of any solutions? I'll just pee out my window. Does that work for me? Does that work for you? That would work for you because then you wouldn't have to leave your room and come down the stairs all loud or whatever. Doesn't really work for me because you know what? Like, I have the flowers underneath your window and they're getting all wilty and it kind of smells when the sun
And
hits
moisture
that
messes with
area.
blood,
You know, and it's kind of the walls getting stained over there, so it doesn't work for me. Can we think of any other ideas? So what are some other ideas he might think of? He might say,
I just promise I won't pee at night.
I just won't do it. I'll pee before I go to bed, and I won't drink any liquids. Like you said, you're not letting me drink liquids after 7:30. That's fine. I'll just do that. I swear it won't happen anymore. Okay, that works for me. That sounds great. I'm wondering if that's realistic for you though, because people do have to pee at night. So I'm not quite sure. I want to make sure we come up with something that really won't make it hard for you.
And that brings up a really good point, is that sometimes a kid may throw out a solution that you're like, yeah, great, you're gonna just stop swearing, or you're gonna just stop, you know, like, but you know that that's impossible for them. And so like you're gonna probably have to revisit, if you choose that as your solution, you will have to revisit it and come up with something more durable. Or you can just, you know, be like, you know, I know that this happens sometimes, so like, because like knowing that a kid has to go to the bathroom, that's gonna happen. You cannot promise that a child will not have to go to the bathroom at night, so it's not realistic.
So as adults who've dealt with this problem before, we know some solutions might be maybe he starts wearing a pull-up. Maybe we have a bucket or a jar in his room that he pees in, or maybe we just say, you know what, you need to come downstairs. You know, there's lots of solutions, but the
So
point
even
is,
opening it up to him and saying, here's his bucket, until we can
Yeah.
figure it out, can I at least make you have
And
a commitment
that's-
that you'll pee in that bucket?
that's what you would do. So like, let's say he can't think of any ideas, okay? You can finally start bringing up solutions in step 3, but you don't want to do that until you know he doesn't have any ideas. Like you would phrase it like a question. Do you mind if I make a suggestion? What would you think about if we had like something in your room you were allowed to pee in? You know, or something like that. And then let him say just whether he likes that idea or not. And if not, then let's keep brainstorming.
And also after you throw one of your solutions out, you can always, again, like, because you're doing that modeling of like how we brainstorm, you can say, do you have, so we thought of this idea, do you have any other ideas? Like even if you think that your idea, like they agree that that would work or whatever, but just to always put it on the kid as well. Does that make sense?
Because if you said what you're, you know, if you just said, well, I do have an idea, I'm thinking for now, since we can't come up with a solution, I'll just have this bucket, you're totally allowed to pee in it. It's kind of shifting from a B to an A. I know it seems like a good thing to do that, but you're kind of, it's more like you're saying, well, here's what I've decided we're going to do. And in a plan B, you actually want to, and she may need to do that. It may be a point where it's like, give this a try. Maybe that'll work or whatever, but we still haven't really solved the underlying problem, so we want to try to find something that is partly his idea, or that at least he has said yes or no, I think that'll work for me.
Now, see, the thing is, I'm not even sure when he's doing it. You know, because I'm a light sleeper, I hear everything. He moves, I hear it, you know.
Maybe he doesn't want to wake you up by coming
But
down.
it doesn't matter, because I hear him, I'm woke, you know. And one of the things that I brought to him was that, you know, I hear you moving upstairs, and, you know, I'm thinking you're going to come down, you know. So maybe I should come upstairs and get you and bring you to the bathroom.
Because you hear him walking to the closet, and
Right.
you're like
I
thinking,
hear
do I
him
hear
moving
that
around.
zipper of that suitcase opening, and is he
Right.
going to do it?
Yeah,
Stop.
but, see, so, but the thing is, I'm not sure when he's doing it. I'm not sure if he's doing it at night, because I don't hear him moving around, you know. It
Might
could be
doing
in the
after
day.
School.
It might be, right, exactly. Maybe it is because he's lazy.
Yeah.
You know, it's a possibility.
And what does lazy mean? That's the best word he can come up with,
That's what
whatever
I
it
was gonna
means.
get at is, what do you mean by lazy?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly.
'Cause that's what we do all the time,
Exactly.
is use their word.
Exactly. What does that mean to you? I know what it means to me, but it might not mean the same thing. And there might be another clue in there. Laverne, did you have your hand up?
Oh, yeah, I did. I think I am the one that is crazy this morning. Because I every time you say about the bucket, and
Yeah.
it just cringes me.
It cringes me
because,
too.
It doesn't have to be a solution for you. We're just like,
No, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean for kids, period.
Yeah.
Because we're training them to grow up.
Right.
Yeah.
And if he grows up at the age of 13 thinking that I can have a bucket in the
Right.
room,
This
But
is
wait,
this is a
I'm-
stepping stone.
I know, but I'm just saying that just sounds like just a horrible way to do. A child is to put a bucket in his room
Yeah.
He's going to be a man one day, and he's gonna think a bucket can be in the room.
So what we're trying to do is jump from peeing in a suitcase and peeing out the window to using the toilet. Our ultimate goal, like the goal on his service plan would be, we'll use the toilet and not pee in his room.
But you know
we
what?
can't get there,
Kids-
hold on, we can't get there until we maybe change our expectations a little bit in between. And like if you weren't comfortable with the bucket, we wouldn't do that. And it could, I mean, on the flip side of things, I could see that it could be a liability if a kid tells a caseworker, well, she has me in my room peeing in a bucket.
Right.
That could look bad. I mean, it may not be the greatest solution, but I'm just
And it would be
thinking
something that the case were
in a
like,
state of desperation, how are we going to ease him into a real life?
By getting him up at
Situation, you know.
nighttime. You know,
And that
when
might
you
be a
have
better
kids,
solution, yeah.
you know, cause I've raised 3 kids. And when they were being potty trained, I got up at nighttime and I put them on the pot. And that's what I would do
So can I say
with
something
You
this
just,
situation.
you just made a beautiful point, because we've got to treat this kid like he is a toddler, because his habits around urinating are like a toddler's. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean you don't respect him, or that you don't want him to develop those skills to pee in the right place like a grown man should. But we have to be realistic about what he's able to do right now. Like, I think actually a pull-up would probably be a better solution than peeing in a bucket, because, you know, adults.
And I guess
squirt
if
back
there
and
was,
forth.
we have to also remember that for 13 years, this child has not lived a normal life.
Yeah.
We can't expect him to be a man yet, or even a 13-year-old functioning child, when probably all his life. But I have foster kids that come to my house, and they all peed and poop in the same bucket in the house, and nobody ever changed them until it got filled. So this is stuff this is normal for them. Even though it's not normal for us, and we know we have limits in our home, but to make these steps and let them know it's not their fault. This is what they were trained to do. This is what their brain is wired to do. So we have to figure out behind where these feelings come from, and how we can gradually help them grow into what
We just have to take our time with it. We
Yeah.
can't leap to an expectation that's too much.
and I just want to also say, like, so like an intervention like that, if that is actually the solution that is, you know, comes up with, your caseworker is going to know. The DHS
It'll be
caseworker
written
is
into the
it's going to be written. You know what I mean? Like something like
And we're not
weird,
going to stop there. We're going to push
you know,
for more than that.
that's like abnormal. It's not like we're like, you know, like bucket is the end point, but everyone would know that this is like, you know, the baby step, and the main goal is going to the bathroom and toilet. Because right now, we're at risk of like, you know, when there's urine in the house, like it's stanky. If there's health concerns, you know, you can ruin your carpets, you can ruin your beds.
How much
and
money
so,
do
like,
you spend?
so like, at this point, like I would like kind of like cost weigh the benefits in my head. If that was a solution that the child came up with, like I guess I am really tired at night because I'm on all these groggy meds. Can I just please pee in a bucket?
So,
You know, like-
Anna, walk us through the process of responding to that solution. How
Sorry, I'm sitting down. My foot is messed up. But I would say, you know, like if the kid says, you know, please, can I just have a bucket to pee in at night? And I would say, well, that seems like it would work for you. Like you wouldn't, you know, you'd be peeing, and it wouldn't be in your bed, it wouldn't be in the closet, and it works for me in the same way. But you know, I really at some point we do need. I want everyone in the house to, you know, go to the bathroom, not the toilet.
Like with the bucket staying in your room all the
Yeah,
time?
like what-
or
It doesn't
we
even have
dump
to
it
be a
out
bucket, it
everywhere?
can be one of those
In our
medical
culture-
urinal thingies.
Yeah, in our culture, we used to, since we had so many kids in the home, and we only had one bathroom, and sometimes the bathroom was downstairs when it was too dark. We used to have vasinitas. It's a metal, it looks like a gigantic cup. You put it under your bed. If you have to pee in that, use it. But the first thing you do in the morning is you take it and you wash it out.
So in order for this to
And
work
hope they
for
don't waste
Laverne
it,
or
right?
another parent, we would say, well, we'd have to have a routine around how we keep this thing emptied and washed out
Yeah,
every day.
yeah,
You know, it's not like we're just gonna leave it in the room filling up. with-
right.
We'll have to let you know, we'll have to let your DHS caseworker know. And do you think, you know, in order for this to work for you, do you think that we could like, you know, talk about maybe next week or 2 weeks about like, what would be the steps to get you to use the toilet? Would that work for, you know, like that sort of thing, like lead it on? And this is, if you do it, we'll bring it up any condition concerns.
People might think it's weird that
People
you're
might think
peeing
it's
in a bucket.
weird, you know, and I'm a little worried, I want to run this past your caseworker, can we talk to her about it, just to make sure she's okay with it? So that's how I would kind of do the litmus test.
And so we might say to the kid, this is a maybe idea. Can we think of any other ideas? You know, and again, you may have one that's just burning in your head, and you're like, I really think this is the best idea. I want him to wear pull-up at night. That would be so nice and tidy and clean. He could have a little receptacle that he puts the pull-ups in the morning, you know, and does that work for him, though? Like, you know, you have to kind of weigh it.
Does he know you're willing to wake up in the nighttime to take him to the restroom?
Yeah,
Or he's still?
well, no, wait a minute,
That's
but
a
he,
brand
I'm
new
not,
idea.
you know.
Oh, yeah, I understand that you don't know when he's doing it then.
Right, and I'm not really convinced that he's doing it at night now, you know, because we cleaned up his room. You know, we shampooed the carpet, I shampooed it twice. You know, the first time is when he was urinating in his suitcases. The second time is, you know, after he started urinating out the window. He didn't admit that. You know, I had to show him where, you know, there were evidence that he was doing that. Right, and so now I'm not. It seemed like it's coming from his clothes basket. You know, I'm not sure.
Have you smelled
when
his
he's
clothes to see if it smells like urine?
No, I just go no.
Well, I would do.
But I've
I'm
looked.
not saying shove it in your nose, but you know, like if you bring urine up to
Very fine line.
smelling it, you can smell if the urine is coming from there or not.
Yeah, well, it smells like it's coming from his clothes basket, but it's not wet. The basket isn't wet, you know, so I'm not sure if he's urinating in his clothes. You know, I'm not quite sure of what.
He may have a security blanket thing that he doesn't put with the laundry that he, I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
The point is, I mean, we could talk about this the whole
Well,
time. Okay, the point is there's these, I wanted to illustrate the process for you of how you have a problem, you have an unmet expectation, you may have to set some, you know, impose your will and say, you know what, we can't do this anymore. And then he still has problems with it, so you're gonna come around with a plan B, and you also plan C it a little bit from time to time, going, okay, I'm just gonna watch and wait and see what's happening.
And that's where I'm at.
And that's where you're at, and then you're trying to do some drilling down, which is step one, where you're trying to just figure out what's his concern.
What does lazy mean? Like,
What does lazy mean?
Now,
It's
that's what I
because
need
you're
to
not
come
in
back
trouble,
and find out.
okay? And then you're gonna define both sides of the problem, and then
Well, I've given him a
you're gonna
goal
look for a
to
solution.
work
So
toward.
that's what we've done.
You know, I've given him a goal to work toward, and it seemed to work for a bit, but the smell is back, and that is, he wants to spend time with his grandmother. And so I told him that he'd have to give me something to, you know, to justify him being able to go with grandmother. You know, and one would be his room to help me keep it under control. Not that I expect for him to keep it spick and span, you know, but I expect for him to keep you know, the clothes off the floor and you know, smelling.
So that might be, because now,
And
that,
he's
actually,
working toward that.
that's a really
He's
good
working
hint,
toward
because
that.
you know how earlier we were talking about when you're in the step one of the plan B, how we're gonna offer reassurance and we just wanna know what's going on? Well, he knows that now. That is not true. If you say you're not in trouble, or you say, I just wanna know what's going on, he actually could get denied a grandmother's visit if he didn't do that. Do you know what I mean? So now it's worth something.
Now there's a reward or consequence attached to it, which then it's like, now there's pressure, which we were trying to remove from when we're doing the Plan B process.
So now the chances of him being honest with you are gonna be reduced. Because how could he, if he wants, I mean, if that's something that he wants, but he knows that he's doing something wrong, we're not gonna actually find out what's actually going on with him. Does that make sense? Yep.
So now that
Well,
we've
that's
thoroughly
not
confused you all.
necessarily, you know, but going back to that peeing in the pot, you know, I wanted to just mention that, you know, when you have solutions like that, it could do more damage than good. Because who's to say that's why who's to say that's why he's peeing in the suitcase?
Yeah, we don't
We
know.
don't know.
You know,
That's
because
why
maybe
we want
he
to drill
had a
down.
pot that he was peeing in, you
Yeah,
know?
maybe
But
that's-
the solution I felt, and this is what I choose to do, is to take him directly to the bathroom.
And
Even
that's-
if it means me getting up and leading him to the pot at night, you know, the middle of the night, that's what I'll choose to
So
do.
so that is you coming up with that solution and saying, this is what we're gonna do, that's plan A, but it might work, so that's fine, go ahead and do that, but we're still not done coming around asking him, trying to explore this pattern for him.
'Cause we
We
still
wanna
wanna-
make sure, because we don't want someone to have to walk into the bathroom for the rest of his life. We
Right.
wanna solve the problem, so
Well, and
that
I
will
figure-
help, and that will also make him feel supported. It's a positive plan A, you know, you still want to you still want to get him comfortable talking about it, and that may take the whole time he's placed with
Now,
you.
but I know that there's another piece of this puzzle, and that is he's supposed to have therapy, and he's set up for that. And that's where they'll come in, you know, to figure out, well, what's going on with you in this, you know.
They can help with that, but you can also do it with the plan B too. You and then you.
What I was gonna say is I want to check in with you guys if this works, because I have a kid that constantly says, well, I'm just not gonna do that anymore then. I'm just not gonna do that anymore. And I tried, and I don't want to deny that as a solution to her, because what I've noticed when I've done that in the past with a kiddo is that it sounds like I'm fighting her on what she thinks she has power over, and that makes her feel bad about herself. And so I do accept that as a plan. Like, you know, I have a kiddo that talked to me recently and said she has some purging and bulimia kind of thing. So, you know, we went through this whole process, and at the end of like an hour, she said, well, I'm just not going to do it anymore.
That sounds like a way of saying, I'm done talking about this.
Yeah.
That's what I said. And so I said, let's give that a shot. And it's okay if it doesn't work.
It's okay if it
And
doesn't
that's what I
work.
said. And so I dropped it there, right? And so then, but then she brought it up 15 minutes later. And so, and so we brought that into a solution to make her feel like she could give that a try, because I didn't want to negate that. But then we also came up with another solution of kind of like coming up with some healthier eating options around our house, which she totally loved that, right? And she bought into it, and she has this plan, and she's going to work on some stuff, and she's into that. And so, honestly, there's like 2 solutions on the table. Like, is that ever something that?
Yeah, because like what you could say is like, okay, so part of it is that you're not going to do it again, and we're also going to look at, you know, healthy eating solutions. That's fine. Because like what I was thinking of, like if you have a kid saying like, I'm not going to do it again, and say, you know, be like, okay, well that's one solution. But here's my concern with it is that, you know what, like when you do something like that, you know, when you've been hurting yourself in that way, it's really hard to break that habit just by saying I'm done.
Yeah.
So do you think we can work around like possibly, like if you do feel like you have to purge or binge, you could like, we could set something up like in preparation for that? Do you know what I mean? And if they're willing to go down that road with you, it's like, it's not that I don't think that you have this, like you are a strong girl, you know, but I want to be here to support you through it. Does that make sense?
That's right.
Does that work for you, Margaret?
Greg, did you have something?
Oh, yeah. I was just comment on that. Because I think, you know, we have to be kind of like selective in our approaches or whatnot. And I think you're doing a great job. And, you know, I think it takes a lot of courage to kind of bring stuff like that up.
Totally.
Set off a group. But not to come down. If I were in that situation, I really wouldn't put an incentive on there, because then it kind of like, if you break the law, you're going to feel a certain way, and then you're not going to say what you did, because it's like,
Keep it secret,
yeah,
right?
you know what I mean? So it just kind of puts an extra barrier on top of the issue. That's all I.
You know, but it's not really an incentive, because when we first get our kids, they're on a 30-day probation, you know, and there's nothing that I can do that's going to prevent him from having contact with his relatives. That's a go, you know, but I can make him, you know, strive to think that, you know,
But will
okay,
he
I
have
want
the
to be able.
skills? Striving isn't enough. He's got to, it's like that whole thing we said in session 1 where like, you can swim as fast as you can swim, but it doesn't, having that trophy out in front of you isn't going to make you able to swim fast.
Right, but he
can
will.
either do it
But
or
see,
he
you
can't.
have to know your child, and I know him. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I've talked to him. I had a chance to interview him before he came. You know, before they
Mm-hmm.
actually placed him. I've talked with his grandmother in depth. I know exactly what's going on
Build
with him.
great rapport. I mean,
You know, and I
believe
think
you
that
did
what is happening with this particular child is that he's been moved from one foster home to another, but his grandma is still there. I mean, she still had contact with him.
You've got the lens going on where you're looking closer, you're listening closer and looking deeper. So that's good. I just think there is some points here about, you know, be really careful when it comes to rewards and consequences and these lagging skills and the trauma-based behavior, because it can, to you it makes sense, but to him it may feel like pressure. And even though I know you know him well and you're doing a beautiful job building this relationship with him, you just want to be really careful those pieces. But I do love that you're looking so close and you're really thinking about him and what will work for him. I do appreciate that very much. So we do have to move on. We have so much to cover.
I have a quick question. Can you explain the difference between clarifying questions and drilling down?
It's, so drilling down is like the big branch. So like you have drilling down, like this is what the process is drilling
Where's
down.
that handout? There's a handout you all have.
And then
kind
clarifying questions,
part of
reassurance,
drilling
yeah.
There's 4 steps to drilling down.
Thank you.
So, but what I will say is that clarifying questions and reflective listening are very similar.
They are.
It's basically, you're just repeating back. And
Sometimes
maybe
the
you're
question
doing
on the
it.
end, sometimes, so like you're saying the period on the end, you know?
So, today we are going to be watching several videos that kind of illustrate parts of the model. They're not perfect examples. Every Plan B is going to look different. One we're going to watch first is a very nice, clean, tidy Plan B between a biological mother and her daughter. They have very good rapport. You know, the child doesn't necessarily have any known lagging skills. I mean, everybody does, but she's not one of our therapeutic foster care kids.
To see if you can think about like, you know how we were talking about Plan B and the steps? See if you can, in your mind, think about what steps she's doing.
Yeah, actually, if you can pull, we'll have the lights up, but if you pull out this worksheet that says Plan B ingredients, you may be able to see when she's kind of doing each of these things. And we'll be pausing it as we go to show you. And then we also have some videos about when Plan B goes wrong, and what that looks like. The sound is really bad, sorry.
All right. Eva, thanks for talking to me about this today. Appreciate it. We're going to talk about bedtime stuff, okay? Okay. All right, because I've noticed that lately it seems like you really want to sleep in mom and dad's bed. And it used to be that you would come into our bed sometimes at night, but now it seems like you want to start out sleeping in our bed, and you really want to just sleep in mom and dad's bed these days.
I've noticed that. You see how she brought it up in a very neutral kind of way.
You're nodding your head, yeah? So you've noticed that's a change too? Can you tell me a little bit about what's going on with that?
And you had a question on there, so I've noticed this thing. Can you tell me more? Can you tell me what's going on?
Well, I feel safe and comfortable in your bed.
You feel more safe and comfortable? Yeah? What's safer in our bed?
Well, I think there are rats in my room.
You think there's rats in your room? How do you think that?
Because they're scratching.
You heard some...
There's rats. She thinks there's rats in her room. Luckily, the mom does a really good job with reflective listening and clarifying questions, so she's repeating everything the child says.
Yeah.
So we can.
You don't need to hear anything
Well,
that
what
Eva.
did she say when she says, so you think there's, what makes you think that? And then she says
She'll
something about
explain
the
it.
lyrics.
She'll explain it.
Yes.
There's some scratching?
And she's hearing scratching.
So you've been scared about rats in your room, you wanted to be out of that room, huh?
My book that
In the book you're reading about sea people? Oh, so you thought you might have a huge rat in your room? No, just a small rat. In the book they're huge, but you thought you might just have a small rat in your room.
because in my book, the only the rats was the underland. Huge. But in one part of the book, the huge rats and all these other rats, and they come and scratching at this like apartment because they want two of their children to come down to the underland, and they won't.
I know it's really hard to hear her, but the mom summarizes everything you need. What we're paying attention is what mom's doing. So hopefully you'll be able to hear what mom says.
They won't go scratching and trying to get
So I see, so you're reading this book, it's got a lot of these rats in it, and then you hear something and you start thinking there might be a rat in my room. I would be scared by that too. Is there anything else that's scary in your bed or your room?
No. It's more comfortable in your bed.
Our bed's more comfortable too. What do you think makes our bed more comfortable?
More cushion
More cushioning?
and warmer.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, all those people make it warm, huh? Okay, so what I'm hearing is what changed is that you got kind of scared thinking there might be a rat in your room when you were reading that book about rats and like scratching. So you feel safer in mom and dad's bed, you feel more comfortable in mom and dad's bed. Anything else?
Well, I'm starting to think about sleeping on bed again because that's where I'm at.
Okay. So already you're starting to think about sleeping in your bed because Dad told you there's no rats. So you're feeling safer. That's awesome. Good, good. Because,
Here comes, she's gonna define the problem for both, on both sides. Can you feel it coming? She's like, cause here's the thing.
I'll tell you, Mom and Dad's concern about this situation is that even though there's some things we like about you in our bed, like we like cuddling with you, it's also been a little bit harder for us to sleep. Because did you know that you move around a lot when you sleep? And sometimes you start with your head on the pillow and you end up with your feet on the pillow and you kick us in the head and you talk out and say things like, "Horse, soldier," and we wake up. And the other day, Dad actually went to sleep in your bed because he was too crowded, and he didn't sleep very good that night. So our thing is just that we would like to get enough sleep, and sometimes we feel too crowded. Does that make sense? Okay. So what I want us to try to do is figure out a way that we can meet your concerns, that you feel safe and comfortable, right? We want you to feel safe and comfortable, but also that Mom and Dad can get enough sleep. Okay, so that's what we're trying to figure out. Any ideas?
Step 3, done. Here we come with some ideas. Not, step 3 isn't done, but she just laid step 3 out.
So you would feel better if we cleaned out under your bed and in your closet, because those are the two places you think, if there's a rat in my room, that must be where they would be. Okay, so clean up under the bed and in the closet, okay? That would help you feel more comfortable and really know. Because Dad told you there's no rats, and so you're kind of thinking there probably aren't, but to know for sure, we can clean those two areas out. Okay, I think that's a great idea. So that would make you feel safer. Okay. How about the comfortable part?
I think if we just put blankets underneath, like we'll put it like underneath, more comfortable.
Blankets, okay. So now you don't like blankets on you, do you? But maybe if we put a couple extra blankets under you, some soft blankets, you'd feel more comfortable. That's easy enough to do. Okay. And so you feel like if we do those things, you're going to try to sleep in your own bed again? Yeah? And that needs my concern about mom and dad getting enough sleep, because we won't be crowded. Will you come and snuggle with us sometimes in the morning? You will? Okay. All right. So Ava, this is what I think we're gonna try.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Clean up under the bed. Clean out the closet, and I will help you do these things, okay? I'll help you with those two things. And I'm kind of excited about that because I think it's a good thing to do anyway. But then you'll know there's no rats, so you feel safer. And we'll put some nice soft blankets on your bed so you feel comfortable. Does that sound like a good plan? Okay. And you'll try to sleep in your bed? Ava, if we try those things and you're still feeling scared, or you still are thinking about rats, will you tell me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because if this plan doesn't work, we're going to try something else, okay? Because I want you to feel safe in your bedroom. It's important. But I want Dad and I to get some sleep too. Yeah. Okay? All right, I think we have a good plan. What do you think? All right, we'll try it.
So, thoughts about what you saw? Nice and tidy, huh?
Yeah,
It was easy.
They were all
Imagine having that conversation with like a 12-year-old foster kid.
Right.
So it's good that you give us an example of from beginning all the way to the end, and even at the end, it was like, it's okay if we don't get it right this
Yeah,
time, we can still revisit it.
All the basic things are in that video, and that's why I like that one. It's only 7 minutes long. I mean, a real plan B may take weeks and weeks to get through step 1. You can't rush it. Meanwhile, you may have to A, you may have to C in the meantime, but you know, that she went through all very naturally in her own style and perfectly hit every step in a plan B. But it was in her own language, her own style. It was tailored to the dynamic between her and the child. You know, if one of us was having that conversation with that kid, it would sound a lot different, right? So that's why we wanted to show you that one. There are, focus of today's class is actually supposed to be about troubleshooting, like how, if you're starting the process and it feels like it's not going right, what you do about that. But we did spend a lot of time reviewing just to make sure everyone's on board. But we'll talk for a second about common problems that happen, and then we'll watch a couple videos of things going wrong, okay? So, one common issue is around fidelity of the model, and by that we mean there is a way that a plan B is supposed to happen. That framework has to be there. How you fill it in and your language and your style is going to vary, but you have to do those steps in order. You can't put your solutions first. You can't define the problem first. You really have to start with that empathy, understanding part. Otherwise, it's not a plan B. It isn't going to work. Or it may work, but not. It's not. No.
It's not collaborative problem solving.
Yeah,
that.
exactly.
It's more like a plan A if you're putting your solutions first.
Right. Also, it may be a super huge, tough problem to solve. I mean, Deborah, this is a big problem that you're dealing with the urine. I mean, you know, you're actually making better progress with it than most people would in like the first 3 weeks of placement. You know, that's a big thing. That's a big pattern to change. It's sort of like the difference between, do I want to pick that low-hanging fruit or do I want to deal with the child's deep, dark sexual abuse issues? You know, what are you going to start with? You want to start with something real.
Like maybe putting your clothes in the hamper. You know, stuff like that. When you start down there, you're helping build a relationship so you can address those big tough problems. Does that make sense? Like if you start with something simple where you know like there's a variety of solutions to this that's gonna work, and it's something that the child can feel invested in, that lays the groundwork for like opening up conversations about heavy stuff.
The plan B's snowball over the time of placement with you. So you start with something easy, you get that relationship going, you're talking in the car, you're talking on a walk, whatever, and over time, you're able to tackle those bigger things because you've laid that safe foundation of like, this kid is thinking, when I have big problems, Deborah's gonna talk to me about them. We have a system that we go to. So hopefully over time, with progress, the child will be able to tackle the bigger things. Also, sometimes plan Bs don't work right away simply based on trust issues. You've got a new kid in your care or you have a kid that's been in so many homes that they're just like, this is a another home? How do I know you're not gonna run and tell everybody everything about me? You know, we had a kid in Thursday's class